I got off the bike and I was only 3 minutes down to the lead. I was in business because I'm a runner. And the first section of that course, it's 10K long. It's lined with people the whole way. So you feel like it has this real crowd, sort of big sports moment type feeling.
Like a Rocky montage.
I mean, it really is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then on my way back into town, I mean, this still gives me chills. All the amateur women were running out in the opposite direction. And literally like hundreds of women were saying to me, do it for the moms.
Oh, dude, I'm going to start crying.
And so like it really became about more than me. And that's what sports is about, is like, I think that's why my story has been powerful and it has gone beyond triathlon, is that it's not about me. It's about showing what is possible for female athletes and for women when we're supported as whole people. We have opportunities to pursue the things that we care about. It makes us a better mom, makes us a better worker, a better partner. And I am just like a living example of someone who's trying to do a hard thing while also like be a decent parent.
This is the Outside Podcast with Patty O. I am more than slightly obsessed with feats of human endurance. There are the funny ones, like the most hot dogs ever eaten in a 10-minute period, 83. Yikes. Or the longest fart ever recorded, 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Double yikes. That one is funny and gross. I can't help but draw comparisons between an ancient tale like Homer's Odyssey and a real-world epic like the famed Shackleton expedition. Then there are the sporty ones, like the 11-hour Wimbledon match, the 9 overtimes it took the University of Illinois football team to beat Penn State, the 1996 Chicago Bulls going 72-10. But the superhuman efforts I find most remarkable are the solo ones, in which the athlete has spent everything physically and mentally and is forced to find a new gear within themselves in order to get to the finish line. A few years back, I crewed for my wife when she ran the Wasatch 100-mile ultramarathon. She didn't stop moving for 33 hours, even when she fell asleep while hiking uphill. True story. At the time, it was the most incredible thing I'd ever witnessed. But then she blew that out of the water with the physical and emotional grit needed for IVF. And then she gave birth to our daughter, and, well, I can't talk about that without crying. But let's just say that will never be surpassed. And I think that is why triathlete Chelsea Sodaro's story hits me so damn hard in the heart. After an All-American cross-country and track career at UC Berkeley, Chelsea ran professionally and narrowly missed the 2016 Olympics. She transitioned from pro running to triathlon a year later. In 2020, she gave birth to her daughter, and in 2022, became an Ironman world champion. Going from never ever to world champ in just 5 years is remarkable. But swimming, biking, and running for 140 miles in just 8.5 hours, 18 months after giving birth, otherworldly. But during that time, Chelsea was being ravaged by postpartum depression and anxiety. Following her daughter's birth, Chelsea had severe panic attacks, including near constant anxiety around mass shootings. She's been incredibly open about her path toward positive mental health as a way to advocate for female athletes and mothers in general. In the outdoor community, we have lots of athletes who inspire us by the way they handle suffering in sports. We don't have quite so many who inspire us by the way they handle suffering in life, though, because there's a big old difference between the suffering you choose and the suffering that materializes internally. What's striking to me about Chelsea's story isn't that she pushed herself to the edge of what's physically possible. What's truly remarkable about Chelsea is the poise and determination she exhibited when that edge pushed back. First things first, burnt toast. What's your last humbling and or hilarious moment outside?
So I have a confession.
You are never humbled or have anything funny?
No, I'm definitely humbled. I'm hoping that this moment will be very relatable to new triathletes.
Okay.
During every single swim portion of the triathlons that I do now, like many years into this profession, I either feel like I'm going to die during the swim or like I'm going to need to drop out. I around the
portion of
first
try,
5
you're
minutes.
like, is it because it feels so exhausting? It's not like you're out there like dog paddling. Like you're an accomplished swimmer.
I mean, I think accomplished swimmer is generous. Like I did summer swim team as a kid. But during the first part of each race, everyone's trying to be in the same place and there's a lot of congestion and you have like people on top of you and bodies all over the place and everyone's trying to get in the perfect position. And there's something about that contact in the water that is super scary. I think there's like a drowning component too, where like...
Yeah, sure. Breathing is great.
Breathing is great. Yeah. So like, for instance, I did a 70.3 a few weeks ago in Cambridge, Maryland, and we swim in the Chop Tank River, which is like the choppiest river.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Yeah. And the first half of the swim, man, I was like in my own personal hell.
See, everybody, Chelsea's just like you. She hates parts of her job as well.
It's true.
All right, let's get into it. Before we dive into anything here, I think it's worth pointing out that all Ironmans are triathlons, but not all triathlons are Ironmans. And I know that some triathletes can be a bit prickly about this because they don't want newbies to get scared off by thinking they have to do an Ironman to do a tri. Now, 2 questions here. How do you feel about this? And so that I don't get chased down by a pissed off peloton of lycra-clad podcast host hunters, how would you like me to refer to your extreme sporting?
First of all, I think people just need to chill out.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Triathlon is a really amazing sport, and we need to do a better job generally of being inclusive of all sorts of different genders, ethnicities, levels of athleticism and experience. But you are correct in saying that Ironman is very, very long. It's a 3.8 kilometer swim into a 112-mile bike into a marathon. Whereas it makes me want to throw up a little bit in my mouth too when I think about it too hard. The trick is not thinking too hard. And then you could do something as short as a sprint or a super sprint where it's like a 300-meter swim into a 10-mile bike into a 2K run. There's all sorts of different distances. Yeah. Kind of the Wild West.
And so how do you want me to refer to your sporting? Can I call you both
You can
things?
call me both
Can
things.
I
I think I...
An iron person?
I am an Ironman specialist. You can call me an Ironman
Okay.
athlete. Yeah. But I don't take offense either way.
Hey, internet, don't come for me. Chelsea said it was okay. So, unlike you, I don't really have any desire to do an Ironman. It kind of makes me sweat and feel nauseous at the same time. But I do have minuscule experience with triathlons. I completed the Long Beach Tri last summer, though it was only a sprint. But what I have gathered from that experience, in addition to the fact that I can swallow enough salt water to drown a blue whale and still dry heave my way to the finish line, is that the specialization of the Tri equipment is kind of bonkers. Everything from the wetsuits to the racing onesie to the shoes to the bike, especially. I mean, people get super geeked out on this. And so I need to know just how nerded out you get with your equipment.
I would say that I am on the extreme end of the nerd. With my...
What's the spectrum here? What does that mean? Like extremely nerded out.
So there's a few pieces of this puzzle. This is going to totally go back on what I said about making the sport more accessible because I think that, you can participate in triathlon with any type or many types of equipment. Like you don't need to have the newest, shiniest thing. But at a certain point, the fancier stuff makes you go faster and it's just more fun to be on. It's kind of like skiing. I was talking to a PT today.
That's a good
and she was telling me
comparison.
She really wasn't enjoying skiing and her husband suggested she get new boots and skis and all of a sudden she's
blammo.
So I would say similar to triathlon, like having a great wetsuit, for instance, makes a big difference. I work with a company called Roka, and they're founded by Stanford swimmers. They have this special technology. They call it arms up technology, where the shoulders have this crazy flexibility and movement, but then you have the proper buoyancy in the backside of your body to put you in the perfect position on top of the water. So there's a real science into the development of these things.
So essentially you turn into a porpoise out there, like you are a dolphin.
I mean, I am a beautiful gold shiny porpoise in my Roka wetsuit.
Nice. Do you know offhand, like how many ounces does your bike weigh?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how many ounces my bike weighs.
Are you that nerded out then? Can we say?
Well, here's the deal, Patty, is I now have like an aerodynamic specialist. I have a handlebar specialist who flies out from the Netherlands to Boulder to come set up my thing.
Yes,
so he's right
you
now.
are that
I'm
nerded out.
I'm right in the process. He's in the process of creating these like extra special aero bars for me that are lighter than my current ones.
What? Do you go in like the wind tunnel with the smoke?
I have spent some time in the wind tunnel.
How many pounds of gels, bars, and drink mix are currently in the cabinets of your home?
A lot.
Is that your primary food source?
I try to get my calories during my main meals from real food.
You're not just eating science all day long, every single day, all year?
Luckily not, no. There is some joy.
In mountain town culture, if you head out for an adventure that consists of a handful of different pursuits, it's called a multi-sport day. It's kind of a big deal, right? Because it's not your average picnic basket of a day. But for you, a multi-sport day is your sport. It's not that special. It's just like a regular old Tuesday. So I want to ask a few questions about this. First, why should the average runner, cyclist, swimmer try a triathlon?
You know, I come from a running background myself. I ran at university and then I ran kind of professionally for several years afterwards. Yeah. And I have always loved to train. I love to be outside. I love to push my body. Yeah. I was actually quite nervous when I was a runner what I would do if I ever had a career-ending injury or if at some point in my life I couldn't run anymore because I was getting that runner's high every day and I loved the activity so much. And I thought I would never be able to find something that made me feel the way I did when I ran. What I found with triathlon is I could push my body in a really similar way, especially on the bike. And I could go even farther. I could see more places. I could get higher up into the mountains than I was able to, you know, just on foot. And that exploration aspect has been really fun.
Do you think your type A personality helps you? Do you think most people who are very focused on tri, whether professionally or as the most extreme part of their hobby set, do you think type A people are the people who do tri?
I think it attracts that kind of personality. I don't think it's a requirement.
Is it an advantage?
I think it's probably an advantage in some ways because there are so many details, you know, like the checklist that I have going into a race of the things that I need to make sure are perfect is quite lengthy.
Okay.
And so having that attention to detail is helpful. I love a gold star, man. Like I'm a type A endurance athlete.
Yeah, I just like I'm getting that sense. Yeah.
So when I like say I'm going to do something, right, I want to show up and do it.
Do you have the thing in your brain when like you say you're going to do something and then you actually have like a real life excuse not to do that thing? Do you still have that thing in your brain that is like, you're bad? Ooh,
totally.
You're bad.
Totally.
God, what is that? Because I don't think I'm type A, but I have that. I don't know what type I am. Z? Is that a type? Like, I could be focused and determined on stuff, and other times I can be like, you know what is great about today? Couch. Box. Yeah. Ironmans are notoriously data and gear driven. Like we have talked, your type A personality helps at both of those buckets. But what are some of the things about competing in Ironmans that transcend the data and the gear?
I'm really good at finding people to help me analyze the data so I can just focus on expressing my fitness and competing. And so on race day, it's not about the data for me. It's about like the pure competition, mano a mano, you know, like times in triathlon, they don't matter. It's all about racing the person next to you. And that's what I get off on. Like I live for competing, you know, like I think in my day-to-day life with my friends and family and people I work with, like I'm generally, like I'm a pretty nice person. When I get to the start line, like I want to rip your face off.
So family game night when you're playing checkers or something, it's not like you're flipping tables, like you're chill, but then it's like, I got a wetsuit on, I'm about to headbutt somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I like really love that pure competition. I think it's so fun. And you know, finding out what you're made of and finding out what's possible for yourself on that stage. And then the other side of it, you know, the like softer, more touchy-feely side is I just like love the people.
So that's hilarious. Not like, the people. I'm going to rip your face off, but afterwards I'm going to hug you. Oh my God, it's so good to see you.
I mean, I have a lot of respect.
As long as you're behind me, it's so good to see you.
I have a lot of respect for the people that I compete against, but it's more like the greater community. The stories that some of these people have, like their journeys to the start line or the finish line are remarkable. And I mean like beyond the professional field. Like what people have overcome in their life. It's amazing. It's really, really cool. I mean, like, I cry every time I'm at an Ironman event, like either before or after, hearing somebody tell me how they got there.
Are you the type of person who stays to watch for the last person who crosses the finish line?
So there's a great tradition in Ironman is if you win the race, then you come back for the midnight finish and you have the opportunity
that is cool.
to give medals to the people who are like the final finishers. It's cool. Really special. It's like the best of the human spirit on display. It's remarkable.
Would you rather finish the race or watch someone finish the race?
I think like at this phase of life, I would rather finish the race. But yeah, I look
in first place.
In first place would be winning is really fun is the deal.
Yes.
It's it's like the most fun thing. Sure, so I'm still in that competitive phase, but I enjoy all of it. Like I find a lot of meaning in the connections I've made in the sport.
A thing I've long been fascinated about with endurance athletes is their relationship to the pain cave, the room of ouch.
Yeah.
What is your definition of pain cave?
Triathlon is a tricky sport because we get it a few times. It's not like in a running race maybe where it comes during the second half or something. There are really hard parts during the swim and the bike and the run where you're kind of on your limit and you just have to trust that it will get better. And so for me, it's all about like leaning into that hard thing in the moment and not thinking too far ahead. And I have this little mantra that comes from my daughter. It's yes, yes, yes. And it was born in Kona when the year that I won, she was in this like toddler phase of saying no to everything as one does. And my dad was dancing around with her in the living room saying yes, 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 yes. And it got stuck in my head for the whole race for 8.5 hours. So like to every pedal stroke and every run start, I was like, yes, 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 yes. And I just think it like so beautifully captures what it's all about when you're pushing yourself is you have the option of saying yes to pushing a little harder or to keep going. And what a beautiful choice.
Does the pain cave loom over you? Is it something that you are trying to put off for as long as possible? Or because of your training, because of all your years in this now, is it something that you're like, bring it on. I'm not afraid of you. I got this.
No, I think there's a healthy fear around it. And I think most athletes, like even professional Ironman athletes at the highest level would tell you, like there's always a level of uncertainty at the start of these races. Like if you can complete the distance, you know, at the level that you hope and expect to. The goal is to really set yourself up for the marathon. And so you're not necessarily aspiring to be there during the first 5 hours of the race. Yeah. You want to make good choices to set yourself up so that you're there for the last hour of the race and you can manage it. On the best days, it's painful, but you're like within yourself and able to like execute exactly how you've prepared. And those are like the dream days. I have some fear, right, around things going wrong or if you start hurting earlier than you expect.
Do you have a specific memory where maybe you got into the pain cave physically and emotionally quicker than you expected or planned for, and then you worked your way through it and found kind of a new gear?
Totally. You know, I won the Ironman World Championships in 2022, and it was this big, amazing surprise for me and everyone else. And, you know, I think when you achieve at that level, that now becomes the expectation, especially externally. And even when you know, maybe like the next time you don't win, you had a great personal performance. Externally, it's like a failure. I've certainly had athletic adversity in the last couple of years, and I've had to reframe for myself what success looks like when things aren't going perfectly. Last summer, I had a gym accident and I broke my patella. It happened maybe 2 months before the Ironman World Championships, but I didn't really get it diagnosed until 4 weeks before the World Championships. And my coach said to me at the time, you know, we're going to need to take a week off now if you want to give yourself any chance of making it to the start line, much less the finish line. And 4 weeks out from an Ironman, this is like prime training. You are like in the thick of your build. You are putting in the miles, building up the fatigue. And I basically took a week off. I got to the start line with a pretty wild attitude. Like when I go into these things, I am there to compete and to give myself the best possible chance of winning. And I still have that. But I also had this like crazy gratitude for just getting to be there because it was so uncertain even a couple of weeks before. I ended up having like a great swim and a solid bike, and I got off the bike in fourth. And I went out at kind of a great pace for the first half of the run. And it was maybe like 20K into the marathon where my body suddenly realized that I hadn't been running for several weeks leading into this thing. And so my quads totally shut down. And I had a half marathon at the end of, you know, a 9-hour race left to go. It went from racing to just putting one foot in front of the next for like 13 miles with people watching me, right? Like you're at a world championship, so like the streets are lined and you're not like suffering privately by yourself, right? And I ended up finishing third, which
is unbelievable.
To be on a podium with that kind of preparation felt like a huge victory. And it was such a good reminder to me that excellence is what we make it. You know, like we get to define our own success.
From an experience like that, what do you glean from it that's applicable to your civilian life? What do you learn from racing and training that makes you a better mom, a better friend, a better wife, a better daughter?
I think it's all about like resilience and how we show up for ourselves and the people in our lives. Like, how do we behave when things are hard?
I think that maybe within all of us, I know within myself, there's this monster that lives within me that does this really great impression of my voice that likes to beat me up on days. And some days it's, you know, the volume dial is at a 0.01, and some days the volume dial is cranked to 11. Does it feel like you have more control over that positive self-talk because you really put it to the test out there when you're racing?
I think that it's given me a lot more confidence in myself and my abilities and who I am as a person. I really like who I am. And I think I've been able to, I guess, like dig through the depths of my soul in these hard moments, right? Where you're like in your head suffering for really long periods of time and deciding if it's worth it. And I'm at a place still where it does feel worth it. And I get a lot of meaning out of what I do. And I'm able to share that purpose and meaning with a lot of people, which continues to surprise and delight me. But I think that I've been like really hung up for a long time that it feels so selfish. Like I'm just swimming, biking, and running and racing, and like what is that really doing for anybody? But I think that like through this pursuit of pushing myself and finding what I'm made of, like I've become a person that I'm proud of and that I think adds value to the world. And I think having more people whose like souls are really lit up and who feel really alive and joyful in what they're doing is a great thing for society and for our world.
Yeah. That just made my heart feel like warm cookies. Well, I guess what I'm digging at here is Ironman triathlons are just incredibly long races. You have so much time with just you and your body facing down the course and going as hard as you can. There's not a lot of distraction from the pain, physical, emotional, whatever it is, your own mind. What's going through your head when you're out there swimming 2.4 miles, biking 112 miles, running a marathon for what most consider the length of a workday?
Well, on those special days like Kona in 2022, the race went by really quickly for me. Like
that doesn't make any sense.
I know.
To me.
I was so
I've never experienced anything 9 hours long that went quickly. Maybe sleep.
You know, I was so present that whole day, and that was a huge lesson for me.
Wow.
That, you know, it's like be where your feet are, right? And we can only do what we're doing right now. And I did that super well on that day. I told myself that I was just going for a swim in the ocean with my girlfriends. And I looked over and there was a big rainbow and the water was clear. It was great. And then I got out of the water and I had done better than I expected. So I had this real like positive momentum and excitement. And then I was kind of just like moving up during the bike and I was doing better than I expected. And I got off the bike and I was only 3 minutes down to the lead. And I mean, I was in business because I'm a runner. And the first section of that course, it's 10K long. It's lined with people the whole way. So you feel like it has this real crowd, sort of big sports moment type feeling.
Like a Rocky montage.
I mean, it really is. It's amazing. Yeah. Like I knew all these people that were on the sidelines and for the section of the run that's out on the highway, they let people bike along And so my husband would like grasshopper me for most of the marathon. And I felt like we were just in a training day together. I would see him every few minutes. I felt like it was just another training day of us out there, you know, cruising together. And then on my way back into town, I mean, this still gives me chills. All the amateur women were running out in the opposite direction. And literally like hundreds of women were saying to me, do it for the moms.
Oh, dude, I'm going to start crying.
And so like it really became about more than me. And that's what sports is about, is like, I think that's why my story has been powerful and it has gone beyond triathlon, is that it's not about me. It's about showing what is possible for female athletes and for women when we're supported as whole people. We have opportunities to pursue the things that we care about. It makes us a better mom, makes us a better worker, a better partner. And I am just like a living example of someone who's trying to do a hard thing while also like be a decent parent.
After your daughter was born, outsized fear and anxiety became debilitating. You were terrified of enclosed spaces and mass shootings. And this lasted for a handful of years until it reached a head after you became the 2022 Ironman World Champion. You turned to your husband during the award ceremony and asked, how are we going to get out of here if someone starts shooting up this award banquet? Did you feel like that was it? Like that was the point where it became clear, like, I have got to get some help?
No, it was actually a couple of months later. I went to go see a PT kind of specialist that I had been working with, and I just started talking to him about some of the things that I was experiencing, and he actually hooked me up to some like biometric sensors and took me through this like breathing exercise thing, and then I was supposed to like picture the thing that freaked me out, and my heart rate stabilized, and he was like, that's very strange. And he was like, I think you're so used to being in this like hyper anxious, sympathetic sort of nervous state, and you should go see somebody. He did say to me, you know, like, you don't have to live this way. And I think the way he said it in that moment at that time really clicked for me, and he found me somebody to go see. So like that barrier of, you know, like mental health in this country is so messed up. Like so mental health and the resources, it's so horrible. And I had tried to seek out help for myself. You know, like I went to an EMDR specialist when my daughter was 6 weeks old, maybe, and I was met with a lot of judgment, which was crazy. And then I got on the phone with another therapist, and the messaging was like, well, why don't you just stop training? And I was like, well, it's kind of how I
just don't go to work
my bills.
Anymore.
And so it wasn't until he found me. She was actually a psychiatrist. He like did some research, went into his national database of healthcare providers and found somebody who looked like they would be reliable. And she ended up being a rock star. She worked with some Paralympians. She had like some understanding of sport. And so there was never a conversation of like, let's just stop doing this. Or like, can we just pause this? And within 15 minutes of me sitting in her office, she had diagnosed me with OCD, which was shocking and also made a lot of sense in many ways, given my experiences and symptoms. But I think while it's scary to have a diagnosis, it's also really helpful to have a name for what is happening inside your body and mind, and you can make a plan. If I'm being totally honest, I was just so desperate at that point. You know, Steve would say, my husband would say to me, like, if you have a broken leg, you're going to get it treated. Your brain is a little broken right now, and so we need to figure out a way to get it treated. And I was so lucky that I had such a supportive family who met me with so much acceptance and grace and support. And that doesn't mean it looked pretty, because it was really ugly. You know, as I tell the story now, we can like tie it up with a really nice little bow. And it's like this overcoming success story. But, you know, as you know, like I've listened to some of your podcasts. I know like you've struggled with various things as well. Like this is not glamorous. No. It's ugly. And it's not perfect now, but I have great resources and treatment. And I think it's really important to say that, like, I take an anti-anxiety medication and it's changed my life.
Yes. You know, I fought antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication, or was very wary of it for a long time for myself, because I was so freaked out that it was going to do something to my creativity, kind of like dull the edge. And my creativity is my livelihood. And I've recently rounded the corner on that. And it has been absolutely life-changing. Talk to me a little bit about the fears going into therapy in general, your own path towards overcoming kind of, one, the frustrations of finding a therapist, and two, the stigmas or the fears around therapy and any kind of medical intervention as well.
You know, I have worked with sports psychologists off and on for a big chunk of my professional career. And I work with one now, and she is amazing. But when I was in the thick of a mental health crisis, I did not need a sports psychologist. I just think that that's an important distinction, especially for any athletes listening, that like it's more than just a performance problem. It's a serious mental health crisis. Yeah. And so I had to recognize that I had a big problem that couldn't be fixed with exercise or meditation.
Well, that's interesting because I know that you've said that you found that like things like Vedic meditation or your training during this time were helpful, but you've said that you can't always exercise and meditate your way out of mental health crisis. When did you know, though, that all of those things weren't enough, that those tools weren't the needle nose pliers or the screwdriver, that it was just a hammer and you needed something more refined?
I was having full-blown panic attacks, like in the waiting rooms of doctors' offices when Sky was a week old. And I didn't really get help until she was 18 months old. And you know, during that period of time, I think I was using exercise as sort of a Band-Aid for the problem. And as long as I could, you know, keep it together in that way and I could avoid situations that made me so anxious, then like I could deal with it. And I did in like a pretty successful way. But I think the combination of coming down from a big victory like the Ironman World Championships, you know, you've been training for so long and you have this big moment and then you come back to your home and you realize your life is exactly the same and your problems are exactly the same. And when it slapped me in the face was when we got home from Kona. My husband is a firefighter and he was in the early stages of his career. So he was on for 48 hours and off for 4 days. But oftentimes they would make him work another extra 24 hours. And we wouldn't know before he went to work at the beginning of that shift. And that's a really hard setup for childcare purposes. For me to train, I needed somebody to watch her. And we had like tried to hire several nannies. Our first nanny that we hired basically like dropped her off of the couch the first time she was over. So I was already like pretty traumatized around leaving my kid with anybody. And after Kona, we hired a new nanny, couldn't show up on time. And that was like the real trigger for me where I was like, I just did the biggest thing you can do in my sport and I still can't get reliable childcare. And that sent me on a real spiral of like, how am I going to do this? Like now there are expectations. Like I can't, like every time I show up, I have to be perfect. And I still don't have my together, which I think is like, honestly, the bigger conversation that I hope comes from this story. It's like, I had so many things going for me. My life was
all the
so
external things,
beautiful. But I couldn't find reliable childcare. And I couldn't find like postpartum mental health resources. And like, if I can't find these things, how the hell is anybody else going to find them?
Following your diagnosis with OCD and subsequently taking SSRIs, do you think that at all has helped you make sense of how your brain works?
Absolutely. I used to think that I would just think I got stressed out a lot. What was really happening is I was having like constant obsessive thoughts, constant like intrusive thoughts for periods of time that I couldn't get on top of.
Where it feels like somebody else is driving the bus on the thought and then it stays there and you're just kind of pummeled by this thing all day or for a handful of hours.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like it could be days at a time in the past. And now I am better able to recognize when that's happening and how I can get on top of it or, you know, in front of it. And also distinguishing like, when is this like a legitimate thing to be concerned about versus like, is this just a spiral?
I was diagnosed with OCD as a kid.
Okay.
So I know firsthand that OCD can be incredibly difficult to live with. But some have described it almost as like this indirect superpower that leads to this intense ability to focus or structure things or recognize patterns. In that way, do you feel like this specific neurodiversity contributed to your success at all? Does it continue to help you in a way?
Absolutely. Like if I just think to 2022 and what I was enduring, like mentally and emotionally, and then to be able to perform on the level that I did, like that compartmentalization and ability to like hone in on a task, I think is powerful. I think it's made me a more empathetic person. Similar to you, I was really afraid of losing my gift by getting better.
Oh yeah, which is such a weird thing.
Just so.
But it's like you're. This is the edge.
Yeah.
You know, I have this edge, and if it's, you know, a competitive advantage or if it's this creativity, like the way that my mind works, right? It's just like bam, 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 bam. Like I can put things together. I could be quick-witted. I am making connections in my head, like in a split second, or problem solving in a split second. I can be so focused on a thing for so many hours, it's like nothing else is happening around me. Now, the evil twin side of that is at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when my brain won't turn off. Do you find now, though, that you are able to turn the dial on the good twin and turn the dial down on the bad twin?
Yeah, I am. I have more awareness and I had more tools. And I had this great conversation with my psychiatrist at the time where I was like, what if I lose the thing that makes me me and that edge? And she was like, well, is what you're doing working for you now?
Yeah. Something similar was said to me is, well, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, now I don't have any way to defend my actions or my thought. You know, I just want to tell you what my fear is and stay with what I'm doing, because even though I have a bit of suffering happening, I know the suffering.
Yes.
And what I don't know is what's around the corner where you're trying to lead me.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen there. So there is this weird kind of comfort in the suffering because it's known.
You know, it like can take a couple of weeks for SSRIs to kick in. But when mine did, I was like, holy shit, the world is a brighter place.
Yeah. God.
Like the trees are greener and the skies are bluer.
I know. It's like you want to take the Wayback Machine to, like, you know, when you were a teenager or younger and be like, listen, you got to get on this therapy thing quicker than you. Like, you don't have to go through all this hard.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. Just do the thing. Do the work now.
Yeah.
It's like, God, what an idiot I was.
know. But I like the flip side, right, is what a better parent you're going to be because of these experiences, and not that like it's worth it to have had
Chelsea,
them.
You're
But
so nice.
But I really do think like
Yeah.
we're so much more prepared now to have these conversations with people that we love, especially our children. The language that we have to have these conversations around mental health are incredibly powerful.
Do you feel, with how open you've been with your own path towards positive mental health, that you've been able to move the needle on what female athletes need from their sponsors in their contracts?
I think that I stand on the shoulders of other women who have taken big risks and who have come before me and have been incredible advocates for women in sport. Like the great Billie Jean King says, sport is a microcosm of society. And if we're able to get maternity leave policies and lactation stations at races and childcare at races and maternity leaves for athletes, like what is possible in other lines of work where your performance isn't dependent on your physical body? I think that I have moved the needle in my sport, in the conversations that I'm having with my partners and that my managers are having with my partners, and they can be really tough. We still have to explain word for word why this is meaningful and why we should be paid when we're pregnant and how this is all going to work out for everybody if we can support moms in sports, because everybody just wants to see the ROI on their investment right away. And it's a long-term process. I work with like incredibly supportive brands that have all been really receptive for the most part. I do have frequent conversations with other female athletes. I have a lot of people reaching out to me asking, you know, how should I word this, or what will happen when I choose to do this? I think that dialogue is really important. I also do a bit of fundraising for an organization called For All Mothers, and they give childcare grants to female athletes. They advocate with race organizations to like implement lactation stations and childcare, and they also help companies develop the correct language for their contracts.
Triathlon is an incredibly individualistic sport. At your level, you have a ginormous team. Like we've discussed, you got, special wind coaches.
Wind
and
people.
Whatnot. Yeah, you've got the wind people. You've got the wetsuit people. You've got everybody trying to make you the human version of a rocket ship. But when it's race day, it's you and you alone out there. And you're able to accomplish so much with your mind and your physical athleticism, your grit, your determination. But life is a team sport. Do you have any perspective on how, if at all, the ability to be so elite on your own has helped or hindered your path?
I've never really felt that I was in it by myself. I've certainly had moments of like loneliness in life, especially through a lot of these mental health struggles. But, I met my husband when I was 18 and I started triathlon early on in our marriage, and it's been our thing. So while I am the one out there competing, I feel so buoyed by this shared project. It's felt like ours in our family business. It's like part of our family ethos in a lot of ways, like doing big, hard, scary things and going all in. The general attitude and way that we pursue this is big. We live big.
Did it feel like you were still a part of a team when you were in the depths of the postpartum depression and the OCD?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think that probably not at certain periods of that. And a lot of that came from how hard my initial postpartum period was. Yeah. My expectations versus my reality of birthing a child and then breastfeeding said child were not aligned. So I made Steve take this mindful birthing class with me. It was like 5 or 6 sessions that were like 2 to 3 hours long. And I was going to breathe the baby out. I was going to have music playing, and I was going to be very zen. I was going to breathe the baby out. And I got induced, and that was not fun. And then my baby couldn't breastfeed. And I learned very quickly that it wasn't about me and what I wanted and my vision for this whole thing. It was about keeping this tiny human alive. During that period, I had this reckoning of what I wanted and what I thought that this could look like and how beautiful it would be and how I was going to be this perfect mom. And it was not that. And I think in this time of social media and putting all of our lives on a highlight reel, especially around pregnancy and birth and motherhood, it's exhausting.
Do you think that some of the struggles around what your expectations are and when your expectations train wreck into reality and the struggle between those two things, in part the reason there was a struggle was because you are so physically and emotionally gritty and you couldn't just power through this thing?
Totally. My perspective on birth has totally changed since I had my daughter. I was going to have an unmedicated natural birth because that was what was best for me, and that's what was best for my baby, and everything was going to be ruined if it didn't happen. And I got an epidural 23 hours into labor, and I looked to Steve and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, Jesus.
Birth is not about being tough. It is about hopefully delivering a healthy baby and a healthy mom. Yes. And I really beat myself up over that experience. And then I really beat myself up over our breastfeeding experience, both of which were totally out of my control. And that's where I have had a lot of personal growth, I think. While I still do struggle and still want to control things that I can't control, we all do. Gosh, being Sky's mom and going through those things with her are the greatest lesson of my life. And realizing too that it's not about me, it's about us. When you're trying to feed a baby, that is teamwork. So there were certainly periods of darkness where I felt very isolated and alone. Yeah. And she was born in the middle of a pandemic, which is a whole nother, circus that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Yeah. But she and I went to our first training camp together when she was 3 months old. And I've been the best I've ever been since having her. Yeah, we totally did it together.
What's your advice to folks listening who may be trying to overcome fear, anxiety, depression, that monster in their head that does a great impression of their voice.
I would love to wax poetic about my deep advice that I have, but my psychiatrist back in 2022 gave me this amazing tip, and she taught me how to name my brain. The idea is that I would give my brain a name, and when I had intrusive thoughts, I would talk to my brain, and it would be kind of like in jest and kind of like poking fun at the situation a little bit. And I named my brain Regina after Mean Girls, like Regina from Mean Girls.
Oh my God.
And
stop trying to make fetch happen, brain.
yeah, she's a huge and
your brain is Regina George. This is amazing. This is the best.
And so what I do still now is something comes up and I'm like, cute Regina, good one.
Listen, the wonderful thing about this job is that I learn so much. And I don't mean to dip my fingers in your Kool-Aid, but I might be calling my brain Regina from now on.
This is
such a good tip.
It's so ridiculous, but it works really well. The whole idea with these sort of tactics is to separate yourself from your brain and these thoughts.
Yeah.
And doing it in
so
like
smart.
a lighthearted, funny, ridiculous way. It just like pulls you back into your body, right? Like you laugh a little bit, you smile because it feels so stupid. It has been so powerful for me.
It is now time for the final ramble. One piece of gear you cannot live without.
My cloud surfers from my On running shoes. They are the most beautiful, comfortable running shoes I have ever worn. And I have worn a lot of running shoes. They're great.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wear them on the trails, on the treadmill, on the roads. They're versatile. They're cushy. You feel like you're on a cloud. Can't go wrong.
Best outdoor snack.
Jerky, beef jerky, or a meat stick always wins.
Just
I die for a meat
classy
stick.
meats. That belongs on a t-shirt. What is your hottest outdoor hot take?
Women's sports right now is not a moment, it's a movement. And I think if we build it, they will come. And the more we create opportunities for women and moms to be involved and to participate, like the healthier our communities will be, the happier they'll be, the more diverse they'll be. And that's just better for everyone, both like from a community health standpoint, but also from an economic standpoint.
Future's female, people.
The future is female, that's right.